I didn't know when a good time to talk about this was on that episode, but I wanted to bring this up. I should have maybe opened with it, but it's a little bit more of a serious thing, and a somber thing, and a sad thing. But it means a lot to us comics here. Mitzi Shore passed away, and it was a weird thing. It was, first of all, it's a sad thing because she owned the Comedy Store, and she created the Comedy Store, and for 46 years ago, and it was and is the greatest place for us as comedians to feel at home, and to, she always made it a point to where you could say whatever you want to on stage and not be judged. And I always felt that at the Comedy Store, and I don't feel that at all the other clubs. I mean, I make myself feel that way when I'm doing the road and stuff like that, but at the Comedy Store, it felt like you were accepted for that, for being unapologetic in your stances and in your comedy. And they wanted that. They wanted you as an artist to be that way. And I learned a lot at the Comedy Store because of that, through Mitzi and through the people who ran the club that were employed by Mitzi. And I met her at least once, and she was just like this. First of all, she did so much for comedy, but she was like this woman that cared about it so much. And like I always say here, if you listen to this podcast, I love when people are good and care about what they do. But she loved finding talent and like nurturing comedians, and loved trying to spot talent. And she told people what she thought of them, and she made careers, made comedy careers. She made stand-up careers happen. And she was one of the people that started something. I can't. I'm paraphrasing this, but I was reading the other day about how she kind of like helped birth Comedy Central in a way, or what has come to be known as Comedy Central. But without her, comedy would be a different thing. Stand-up would be a different thing today. She's just like a legend in comedy, and I don't know if people who listen to this podcast know that. I know some of you do because you're comedy fans. Obviously, you listen to this podcast, but people think of comedians as the people that changed the game for comedy. And Richard Pryor and George Carlin and whoever, Eddie Murphy, and the guys now that are moving comedy in the direction that it's moving. But there's also the people that aren't on stage that do that, like Mitzi Shore and others too. But Mitzi Shore was arguably the most important person who was that, and she passed away a few days ago. And I knew her. I met her, like I said, once or twice. She passed me. I was one of the last people that. I was actually the last person that she passed. I believe I was the last person that she passed at the Comedy Store where there were showcases. I know she passed one other person after me, but just because she came to the club and saw him on stage and was like, put that person on the lineup a lot, and that was Justin Martindale, who's great. But she just hadn't, like, she would do that. She would just see somebody and be like, put that person on every single night at 10 o'clock. And whoever was running the club would be like, really? And that person would then become, a big comedic star, because she felt like, she would do stuff like this person needs to open the show at 9 o'clock every night for a year, because she thought that person needed that in their journey, or whatever you want to call it. Or you got to give this person late night spots. They got to go on at 1 a.m. because they need to talk to 5 people and become more conversational, or whatever she would say. And she had ideas for every comedian. And she was like, they called her like the godmother at the Comedy Store. And look, the Comedy Store is my favorite place, period. And it's my favorite building. And I love performing there, and she made it that way. And she meant a lot to me. And she meant a lot to a lot of comedians. And I think she knew that. But it was just her not, and even though she wouldn't come to the club a lot anymore, because, in her last days, last few years, she's really fragile and old. And, but it was still a weird moment for me, I can speak for me. Even though I didn't have many moments with her at all, but just knowing that she had passed on, it made me feel sad, and it made me feel. I mean, I'm still figuring it out, but I sit and I think about it, and the Comedy Store, and just what she's done, and how crazy it is that one person can do so much. And my heart goes out to the Shores and Pauly, because she's Pauly Shore's mom. I don't know if people know, everybody knows that, but I fortunately so far don't know what that feels like yet, to lose a parent, but that's got to be the worst. So my heart goes out to Pauly. I think he's dealing with it well. I mean, I haven't talked to him yet, but he seems to be active and being sweet on Twitter to everybody who's talking about it. And but we all as comedians loved what she did, and even the people that didn't know her are like thankful about her. It's just really cool. It's cool that there's somebody like that, and that comedians can have their moment where, besides the fact that they're always making fun of everything, to just be serious about something and express to people how much she meant. Anyway, I'm kind of going on and on about this, but I wanted to, because she was a really important person in comedy, and because of that, she was a really important person to me. And she passed me at the club, and that meant, I mean, that's one of the fucking things in comedy that like comedians would start and be like, oh, I want to, Mitzi Shore, will she see me? I mean, will she pass me? Do you think she thinks I'm good enough? And that's just cool to me. That I don't know. I appreciate that moment, that small moment that she gave me in my life, and made me feel accepted. And I don't know. It's just a fucking awesome thing. And so, rest in peace, or whatever they say, to Mitzi Shore. And thanks for what you did in comedy.